Hi, I'm your host Fahad Faruqui, and you're watching The Coffee Table. Recently, an actor posted a picture of his character that spurred a debate on cross-dressing. It was perceived by some as a role on transgender that raised many eyebrows, and still continues to be a subject of controversy. We see cross-dressing in Shakespeare plays. Today, we see women playing the part of prince in the Shakespeare play Hamlet. But we haven't been able to step outside the box. To discuss this, we have with us Zuhair Malik and Shiraz Malik. Both are well-respected names in the media industry. You both have seen the picture of Yasir Hussain.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you guys make of it, Zuhair?
I think what happened there is you've got a social media platform like Instagram where a picture is posted without any context around it. So as the public normally does, they're therefore drawing conclusions. There was a huge...
But it's a teaser.
It's a teaser, but I think with that particular image, there was a conversation regarding, that role could have been taken by a transgender person, and therefore Yasir Hussain is then taking up somebody else's, a space for a minority. But I think he then went and he clarified the fact that it was a Mrs. Doubtfire kind of situation where it was a male who was then, who had to, for certain reasons, has to then dress up or act like a female. There was no transgender issue really being created within that show. So therefore, again, we've got social media coming up with conclusions without some kind of a context. However, having said that, I think the fact that it spurred this conversation and conversations that we're having here today, it's important. It's an important conversation to be had.
Shiraz, let me ask you this. Even if he was playing the role of a transgender, is there a problem?
I personally don't think that there's a problem to that. I mean, we see a lot of, if we look at our history, our dynasties, we see a lot of people trying to, fill up the role for females and, vice versa as well, depending on whatever they want to.
It's across Shakespeare plays.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
In fact, last year, Hamlet was played by a woman.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. It was accepted.
Even in theater, I feel that they don't really look at genders. They look at the quality of the performance because you're far away. And it's not really about the gender. It's about the performance. And it's about believing whether they'll be able to pull it off or not. And I think just to add up to what you were saying before, I don't think people really reacted to Yasir, acting as a female, because I think it wasn't a transgender kind of role.
Yeah.
However, the conversations that he had, the replies that he did with people, he condescended people. He said a number of things, actually.
Well, he was trolled, then he trolled the
trollers.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah.
That's how
but
I
he
see
did that
it.
without really giving an explanation as to what the image
But here's my
was,
question.
right?
Are we to give an explanation? It's Instagram, it's
Instagram,
Facebook,
and it's a public
it's Twitter,
platform.
but it's social media.
But social media has a body copy. You're supposed to put context in written form and give context to it, even to teasers or even images. That's what we all do.
So are we not accepting of cross-dressing? What is really the problem?
I think it depends on how you define cross-dressing.
Well, how would you define cross-dressing?
I would say cross-dressing would be when a particular gender is dressing or chooses to dress like the opposite gender. Now, over here, the question therefore arises is why are we conforming into your stereotypes and saying that only women can wear this and men can wear that, right? I think as a society, we need to progress, and I think we have done a great deal, and we've seen that in our media now. We've seen that within the entertainment industry, that we are slowly turning into a non-conformist society, at least with regards to projection and the way we're addressing certain issues within the media.
But not so much. We see this in Games of Thrones, the Brienne wearing an armor.
Brienne's cool. I'm telling you, Brienne's really
But why
cool.
is that a problem?
No,
Why is that cross-dressing? A woman being a soldier or a woman wearing armor. Why are we now saying that is a male's role, right? If we look at
because we've okay. So, because we've seen that being played, knights being played, or swordmen being played by men only.
Okay. But now, if we bring it back here to Pakistan, when we've got women in the Air Force, when they're in service, they're wearing saris. But when they're in action, when they are flying planes, they're wearing pants. Are we therefore saying that wearing uniform is therefore cross-dressing because she's wearing pants, and pants are generally said to be for men?
What do you think?
I actually agree to that. Absolutely. I mean, it doesn't depend on. We see a lot of women wear a lot of men clothes.
Right.
We are very okay with that because it doesn't conform to any kind of stereotype, because we see women kind of, do.
Shiraz, you did a music video
I did.
with Sabah Kamar, when Sabah was wearing a men's shalwar kameez.
Yes, and that was exactly the conversation that we had. We wanted people to make sure that they understood a female as a male, persona. And that was something that we worked upon.
Did any setbacks there?
There were a few. There were a few. I mean, there were a lot of people coming around and saying, "Oh, this is just gimmickry, and why is there a need for a concept to be driven according to that?" And my answer to that: why not? Why not?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Do we see that a lot in the media industry in Pakistan now?
What?
Or just different dressing? Like, for example, Sabah Kamar wearing shalwar kameez, or something else.
Abida Parveen has been known, her costume, she's famous for wearing a buttoned-up kameez and ajrak, and no one's questioned that.
Yeah.
I don't think that has ever been a reason for contention as to why is she wearing a male's attire.
Yeah.
Sarmad Khusa did a play recently, which was very well received, and a lot of it he was dressed in half drag. And people, yes, it was a comedy play, but people left there crying, feeling for that character, looking beyond what that character is wearing.
True.
So I think as a society we are, and in media as well, we often don't really give the audience. I'll say we underestimate our audience with regards to how open they are and how they're willing to look past your gender roles or gender conformity.
But tell me if I'm wrong. In one of the dramas, Baghi, Khalid Malik played a role that did receive some positive and then some negative reviews as well. So I'm trying to understand whether we're still struggling with it or we've come a far way.
I think we have come a far way, but I think we're still struggling with it quite honestly, because generally, again, cross-dressing or you're talking about gender and roles and so on and so forth. We as a society, we need to figure out whether if this is a traditional or a cultural or a religious aspect that comes in that entitles you to judge somebody, maybe that is it. And I think the idea over here is to, because you see, the funny part about is that when somebody judges somebody, that reveals the weakness in that person. I mean, I really feel that people who judge the other person has an insecurity themselves, which is why they're projecting it out and they're not comfortable with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But how common is cross-dressing in our dramas, in our theaters, in our adverts?
I think going by what you said, you spoke about a woman playing Hamlet's role. But if you go back to the Shakespearean era, they were all men.
Men, yeah.
And men were playing women's role. And then you've got a role, you've got to play like Twelfth Night, in which you've got a woman being played by a man who is dressing up like, who is trying to act like a man.
Yeah.
Right? So you had that whole time there as well. So this has always been prevalent. And I think our theater is a lot more open-minded with regards to it versus TV or film. But having said that, I think we do have a long way to go. I think one thing, what we've spoken about thus far is women dressing like men, which often in our society isn't called cross-dressing. We say, oh, that's an androgynous style.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's cool, right? Yeah. Because when you have an androgynous style, you're therefore not conforming to
any,
either.
Yeah.
But then you've
And
got
that's a
things
power
like,
for women.
Absolutely. But then you've got things like skirts and dresses, which if men were to wear all of a sudden now, we're questioning that.
If we wear a skirt, somebody will come up to me and ask me some very silly questions.
But then here's the caveat: if you were in Scotland,
I'd wear a kilt.
You'd wear a kilt, and no one would question that.
Nope.
So that just shows that our culture and our individual societies is what's creating these barriers as to this is male and this is female.
Yeah, I agree.
How do we transcend those barriers? Is there anything that we can do? I mean, I know our parent company, Op Media Group, in that there is a very well-known show, Khabazar, which is done by our CEO, Aftab Iqbal. And he's been doing it for a very long time. There's been different variations, Hasbeal, so on and so forth. There is a lot of cross-dressing there.
There is.
But that's comedy. That's where the problem is that that's considered to be funny. If a man is dressing like a woman, that's supposed to arise humor.
No, but we're doing serious theater as well, in which there is cross-dressing. So it's really not making a mockery of the character.
Okay.
So we've come a far way. But my question to you both is that how much do we see this prevalent in our media?
You see a lot.
A lot of it, and I think we've given quite a few examples now. The fact that, and everything that we spoke about is things that have been done in the last 2 to 3 years since we've like joined the media industry.
You make a lot of ads.
Yes.
Any cross-dressing there?
Not yet. In any of my ads, there hasn't been any cross-dressing, but that's because there hasn't really been a need for it as yet. It's not something that I, as an ad filmmaker, would shy away from. And I don't think it's something that like our corporates, our clients, would shy away from either. It's just the fact that the products that we're selling or the story that the media agency is trying to tell hasn't brought up any kind of a reason. Having said that, in my ads, if women are not wearing shalwar kameez, they are wearing pants and shirts, and that's not something I would consider to be
fantastic. We'll take a short break. Stay tuned. Viewers, welcome back. In our second segment, we'll talk about body shaming, which has been an epidemic throughout the world. Recently, a Pakistani actress, I think several Pakistani actresses came forward and said that they have been body shamed. Any experiences there? Sana Fakhr came forward.
Sana Fakhr came forward. Sana Fakhr has, I read an article about her recently where she spoke about the fact that after she took a break from working, she gained a little bit of weight and she got a lot of hate for it. Zara Noor Abbas as well, she speaks about the fact that she gets trolled online a lot because of perceptions of the way she looks. Now, I think what arises here is the fact that now you've got Zara Noor Abbas, who's starring in one of the biggest big budget commercial films that's coming out this week.
Indeed.
So having said that, we again can see that people are moving forward and the audiences are slowly but surely opening up their mind with regards to what is acceptable to be seen on TV. But body shaming, if we move on from just talking about weight, if we also look at skin tones. So working in
we're
ads,
obsessed
working
with the
in
fair
ads,
skin tone.
exactly. We've got
go to the makeup room and there is nothing you can say to the makeup artist that will not make them change your complexion.
Right.
So I keep saying this 3 times. Same skin tone, same skin tone, same skin tone.
Yeah. But then your makeup artists are also, they're conditioned to understand what is commercial and what is viable. So Amna Ilyas, Pakistan's one of our supermodels. One thing that she speaks about very openly is the issues and the hardships that she's had because of her skin tone. But she's been unapologetic about it, and that's something that, as an industry, we've been very proud of. About the fact that she's able to do what she does, and she, like I said, is a supermodel. She's one of our highest paid models. She's now doing films as well, and she's doing it without having to change her skin tone, without having to kind of be apologetic of the way whatever her skin tone is. And let's keep in mind, Amna Ilyas is a beautiful woman.
Indeed.
And the fact that she even has to face these kind of issues speaks a lot about our society.
But then this is not limited to women. I think there are men within the media industry who are getting their skin tone changed. And their body shape too.
Nose fixed and their hair, replanted and so on and so forth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is a lot of that. Why?
I think people, at one side, you look at it in a way that they want to better themselves in whatever way and form. But on the other side, I feel that...
But that's one thing. Wanting to look better is a person's personal choice.
Absolutely.
It's like Celine Dion. She's received a lot of backlash. She's been called scary skinny and anorexic, so on and so forth. And she's responded to it.
Yeah,
and said,
even more so now that she's growing up furthermore.
And that's interesting. It's not just fat shaming, it's skinny shaming as well.
Absolutely.
Exactly. But the problem is that France is banning size 0 models, but we're kind of stuck there. Or am I wrong?
Well, I
don't see any plus size models here. I mean, if there are.
It's not,
please.
I don't think you get plus size models over here could work very well so far. I really hope that they do, and it's a trend that should work. However, I feel that with Pakistan...
I don't see short guys either. That makes me feel very bad.
Oh.
You'd be surprised if a lot of our actors
I wanted to say that, exactly.
Really?
Yes.
Not that makes me feel good.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
Yes, it's true.
But across the board, do we have an actor like Lord Tyrion who is not mocked? All the midgets in our media industry, there is an element of prank, mock, comedy, exactly what you said earlier. Well, they don't transcend
That's supposed to
that.
arise humor, right?
Exactly.
But that's the
we
problem,
were supposed to enjoy from their size, so to speak.
Yeah.
But
I've seen somehow, I have this thought. And when it comes to humor, I think people are more receptive to judge. But when you see somebody like Jared Leto, for example, turning, the body shape change that, you have, Batman.
Christian Bale. Yeah.
Going really, you've seen that, you appreciate that because I feel that there is context to it. Whenever we do come and maybe it's a quote on Pakistani humor to that level as well, that we take funny roles for people who don't fit that criteria or that stereotype, and that's the problem. And I feel that those people, small, tall, huge, whatever, as long as they can act well, they have context to what they're doing, I think they'll be accepted. I think it's the genre that's the problem for me right now.
I think it's so interesting. Samuel Tarly came forward and said that after Game of Thrones, he's more confident about his body.
Yes.
And I wish there were more of that here.
But have you seen his other movies?
Of course not.
Now, there are a bunch of movies that he's done.
I was forced into watching the Game of Thrones.
Did you like it?
Of course I did.
I loved it. But, okay, with him, he's done a few comedy roles as well that was not received well. Again, they stereotyped him as a funny guy for a funny role, and that didn't work well. As long as you take that person as a person and put some context to it, I don't think body sizes or color matters. As long as you have talent, you'll be fine.
Why are we not able to do that?
I think a lot of people have broken barriers.
Any examples that you can think of?
Actually, all the women, all the models, all the
you call
actors.
Ahmed Ali, but plus you'd call him plus size.
Yeah, but that's just one.
He's the only example I could think of.
Yeah.
Well, you look at your Pakistani cinema, especially the old ones, vivacious body types are celebrated. Even if you look at your history, your tradition comes from the fact that your epitome of standardization of what beautiful means is voluptuousness.
Yeah.
So you come from that particular point, but then again, you shun that idea and you put a a standard in front of you, which is a universal idea of what beautiful means. I don't particularly think
that too is projected by media.
Yes, of course.
You project a certain image and showcase it as beautiful. People will start thinking that's the only version of beauty there is.
It's true.
Right.
And that is a problem. That is.
And I think pre-Kim Kardashian, it was skinny.
Yeah.
Now it's curvy.
Yeah.
Right. And then before then, it was Marilyn Monroe, who was also a curvy lady.
Yeah.
So I think our perception of what beauty is changes with time.
I think it evolves in time. Yes, I agree with that.
How can we overcome body shaming? Because it's not only with actors that I'm concerned with. It's with the younger generation too, who struggle with body shaming to the degree that they stop eating, they get depressed, they've become social media has made them very conscious. So they're constantly looking at themselves in the mirror and they want to be like the models.
Frankly, it's not just the kids. I mean, we are victims over here.
We are victims.
We want to look our best. We want to look, try to achieve that kind of standard. That is a problem, I would say. Again, it's the archetype that you kind of, instill on children and on the younger generation that they need to look a certain type. I think that's headed towards disaster. We need to be very,
Can we
very
break
open.
off that somehow?
It's very dangerous. With the way social media is going, it's very dangerous. Because what's on social media is not accurate either, right? You've got 500 different filters on every Instagram model.
Absolutely.
And that's not actually what they look
You're
like.
living a lie and you're endorsing it.
You're living a lie and you're putting other people in complex because they don't look like that, even though the models themselves don't look like that either.
Yeah.
But when you're scrolling
To be
through
very
Instagram-
honest, in real life, I don't look like this either.
Yeah, I don't look like this
There's
either.
several layers of makeup on me right now.
I
So
can't see
just
it.
so you know, I don't look like this.
He does.
I'm glad, but I kind of wonder that this is one thing that we're all trying to be beautiful in the definition of beauty. I mean, this is what body shaming comes from.
Yeah.
That we need to fit that confine, that definition of beauty that's projected by the media. And when we are unable to, we kind of get frustrated or anxious and other variations of it. There has to be some way. I mean, these actors have come out now. Prior to that, they couldn't. And, haven't you realized that all the names that he took, they were all women. So still, there are men who are not coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, at
And
least...
men face that pressure as well.
They do.
I do. I don't have big biceps.
Neither do I.
Neither do I.
Exactly.
There you go. We're three men here who are projecting, who are going against the grain, and still have the audacity to show up on TV
Yep.
without the biceps.
It's actually the bicep and the tricep, but still, I have neither.
That shows my lack of knowledge. There you go. I don't even know.
Where do we go from here, really, in body shaming? Happens every day. It's like a friend of mine says that round is a shape, and that's the only one I'm going to maintain. But you,
Funny friend.
Yeah.
good, nice guy from Oxford.
Okay, cool.
But the problem arises that a lot of us are not comfortable under our skin either.
No, I think we're not. But for example, I question, for example, makeup right now. I mean, we transform women. They don't look the same. We accentualize their eyes. We go with the poutier lips. We change the tone. We tell them what is beautiful, and then we come around and say that we are confined by it. So again, I've seen so many girls who I couldn't recognize later on. I mean, isn't
But
that...
it's a vicious
But that's
cycle.
troubling.
It's a vicious cycle. We're starting off saying, okay, you need to look like this.
Yeah.
And then we're questioning, but why do you feel insecure when you don't have all
that's
that
silly,
makeup on, right? Yeah.
Silly.
So where do we go from here? If it's even the people who are hip who are struggling with this.
Yeah.
I mean, if actors are coming forward and they're struggling with it, I mean, imagine what the young girls in schools and colleges would be struggling with.
But then you've got women, Alicia Keys, I think, is she the one? She no longer wears makeup in any of her interviews, and she's, I think, for the last few years, she just doesn't wear makeup because she says, I need to do my bit in normalizing the way I look, and that's okay.
Even,
That's
even our stars
fantastic.
right now, nowadays, we've got Sabah Kamar, we've got Myra Khan, who are wearing less and less makeup nowadays. They are really putting an effort not to bake themselves, you know. So that's commendable. I think that that's the right start.
And they're doing it to as a message to people or just for themselves?
No, I mean, it's a message to people, and at the same time, you're putting a standard out there that pale is beautiful, you know, normal is beautiful. And you already have these stars with a lot of followers, with a lot of love already. These guys coming around, putting that message out will have a footprint.
Yeah.
What about the guys? In terms of men, there is a tall, hunky guy. That's a standard of handsome. Anything other than that
Well,
really
they're
doesn't.
tall, dark, and handsome. I know a lot of girls who would rather go with darker tones and stuff like that. So again, it's I don't think that there's a.
But why don't we project that in the media either?
I think to a certain degree we do. I mean, we don't call them dark. We call them wheatish or you know brown. Or
Yeah, wheatish.
wheatish is the word that we're using now.
That's the politically
Yeah,
correct
yeah.
version these days.
Dusky. That's something I've
That's
heard.
going
You're
very
so
far.
dusky.
Yeah.
But have you ever had some funny? I mean, in ads, you guys have been in the media industry for so long. Any absurd requirements from clients where you feel that this is preposterous? I can see that smile on your face.
I'm thinking about what I can and cannot say. Because I do want to work after this interview as well.
Please say it.
But yes. No, they have been absurd requirements. I've done a full advertisement with a model that was approved. And after the ad was complete, they said, we don't like the way she sounds, dub over her voice.
Wow.
You know, and
How did she sound?
and she's an amazing actress, and she's a very close friend of mine as well. And then I had to call her, and I had to make that call and let her know that, listen, when this comes out, it's not going to be your voice, and it's a very difficult thing to say to someone. So yeah, these things do happen, and it's not one in a million. It's quite regular that these kind of things will happen, and they'll be like, oh, but this model doesn't really fit the brand guidelines, or but then okay, if I
And the
give you,
brand guideline is always size 0.
Most of the times.
most of the time,
Most of the time.
because
It's true.
because again, that's what's perceived to be attractive, and they want to attract you to the brand.
Yeah.
That is so sad.
But it's not the company's fault. It's our society's fault. It's the fact that our society
But
has
if
said
I-
that this is beautiful.
But here's what I'm thinking. If we start thinking in terms of if we want to change, it's like Dove. Dove had to come up with a complete campaign with plus size models and so on and so forth, with no makeup on as well, going all natural. Although it's the same company that makes Fair and Lovely, mind you, but it's just to tap into a certain market that they had to do this.
And
But where is that market here?
I don't know. I really don't know how to answer that question.
It's underground.
Shiraz?
You were asked. I say you complete the.
He's pressurizing you.
I'm enjoying this quite a bit, actually.
I don't know what to say.
Help him. But you're in the media industry as well.
Yes.
What's your take on this?
My take on, well, it's a difficult. It's a difficult question to answer without getting into trouble.
You know,
God.
I know for a fact that you're both thinking that
that
this
creative agency
this
is going
guy
down.
is sitting on his job. This is what he'll be doing, but with different clothes. We, however, have to go
And do our job
and do our job.
and deal with the same problems. Yes.
So, on that note, we'll take a break. Welcome back, viewers. So far, we've talked about cross-dressing and body shaming, and there is no way that we can do a full round without talking about stereotypes, can we?
No.
I think it's there all comes down to stereotypes.
I agree.
And it's a problem across the board. How do we transcend them?
I think it takes people in power to be able to transcend them. If I talk about myself, I, growing up, have never really conformed to the stereotype of what an alpha male should be. Growing up, I was never into sports.
Interesting.
I was never into sports. I've always kind of flourished in public speaking, in theater. And, you know...
Did you have trouble with doing theater?
No, I always did very well in theater. In public speaking and theater, I've been good. Sports, it's never something that has really interested me. Initially,
Please tell me you cross-dressed for a character.
I didn't. I have not yet. I'm open to all, can I look at the camera and say this? I'm open to all offers coming my way. For anything.
Offer him right now. No.
So what I was saying was that it takes a certain amount of understanding. So my father was someone, he is someone who has been understanding of that, and he's always told me to do
nice.
What it is that I'm the best at. And like I said, I understand that I do come from a place of privilege to be able to have a household that is understanding of
Indeed.
this, right?
It doesn't happen very often.
It doesn't happen often, but that's what it takes. It takes people to understand the fact that we do not need to conform to certain to these stereotypes, and with companies as well. Companies are doing that. Slowly but surely, they're understanding that that the world does not fit into stereotypes.
Shiraz, are you breaking the stereotypes with those red glasses?
Am I?
Are you?
I am.
So tell me,
Yes.
what else are you breaking the stereotypes with?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I did cross-dress for a performance.
Did you?
I did. And funnily enough, I wasn't comfortable. So I went to NCA. We had a few societies here and there. And there's this particular society called Nautanki, which is this impromptu, comedy kind of a, center.
I like the name.
Nautanki.
What did you cross-dress as?
It really scared me in the beginning because impromptu is not my thing.
Yeah.
And then when I went over there, obviously, I was born in Thailand with my twin sister. I came over here, so I saw the stereotypes being made in front of me because I was not from over here. So I think it takes a perspective, an outside perspective, to really analyze and see what kind of stereotypes you usually have over here. And when I went to Nautanki, they looked at me, they said, "Oh, can you speak in Punjabi?" I couldn't. They heard my voice. They said, "Oh, he's a funny guy. His voice is shrill. Let's put him into a girl's, dress." After that, I tried to perform. They said, "Oh, so he can't talk in Punjabi, so let's make him into a hoity-toity, kitty party auntie and stuff like that." And by that time, I got really uncomfortable because I felt like all of the stuff that I couldn't change in me was being stereotyped and laughed at.
That is most unfortunate, I think. For a lot of people, I mean, you've mentioned privilege as an operating word, and you've done it absolutely right, and there is a reason for it, because there are so many others who are sheltered because they're stereotyped.
Yeah.
And I have seen, irrespective of how you look, what you do, you'll be stereotyped by somebody. For the person, it's a foreign thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important to actually transcend that you find yourself only after you've been able to transcend it.
Yes.
But in Pakistan, I think it's a problem with the subcontinent, that fair is beautiful, wheatish is kind of unacceptable. You will get a good job. You will climb the ladder only if you're fair.
Or maybe the rishtas you get. I mean, it's crazy. People are coming around saying, "We need a gori girl." Like, forget everything else.
Fair girl.
Forget what she studied. Forget everything.
Gori hai? Gori
is
chahiye.
how
I
gori
mean,
she
that is stereotypically such a, uneducated thing to be living with. I mean, in terms of the standard.
How can we educate people? There have been campaigns in neighboring countries we haven't done much on that end of the trajectory. Is there a reason why we don't feel the need? Because I still see advertisements, I see women projecting those stereotypes, actually promoting those stereotypes.
But I think as an industry, we are taking a stand quietly, but we are. I'll give you an example. I recently have been approached to do a fairness cream, a men's fairness cream.
Do it.
And so when they came to me, I was a bit taken aback because they're quite a large company, and I haven't worked on that budget on that scale as yet. So I questioned why it was that they came to me, and they said that there were numerous ad directors who have said no because they don't want to
be associated
with something like this, right? Which is amazing. And so slowly that is happening. Also, if we look at, I don't want to name this particular fairness cream, but there's a woman's fairness cream that started off saying, 5 times fairer and this and that. They've now changed the lingo. They're now saying 5 times brighter. Your skin becomes brighter, right? So even they're aware about the fact that what they're doing is the fact that they're perpetuating this kind of behavior. So but at the end of the day, when you have a product like a fairness cream, you need to sell it, right? They need to sell that, but they're still being more thoughtful as to the way they're advertising it and the jargon that they're using.
Do the clients get it? Because...
the clients is in the customers?
Yeah. I think subconsciously, in time. Because nothing is,
I mean, I noticed it, right? And I think most people have noticed the fact that, they're now using brighter rather than fairer.
Fairer.
Even though that is in the brand name, it's...
Exactly, it's right there.
Now we know which brand it is.
No, there are many.
It's him.
How can we educate people to be comfortable under the skin? It's not something that let's be very honest. We don't hear this kind of conversation on TV either.
We don't, yeah.
This would not be, the topics that we have covered today would not be the run-of-the-mill topics.
I wouldn't think so, yeah.
Exactly. So what can we do in order to push the agenda that the younger generation is comfortable under the skin?
I think there's a bunch of things that can be done. Awareness is one of them. Please talk to your kids. Make sure that they are comfortable in their own skin. I see a lot of parents, there's a lot of peer pressure for the kids.
There is.
To achieve perfection, which is not possible. There is no such thing as perfection. And we stereotype perfection, and we try to achieve that.
And the perfection that they see on social media.
So-called perfection, yeah.
Yeah, because if they were trying to attain perfection in terms of grades, that would have been a completely different ballgame.
Some of them do. I did. Yeah? I tried to, yeah.
Really? You're saying that just because you did?
Maybe.
Others don't.
I've seen some, because I was teaching as well. I've taught grade 2, 3, 4. A lot of them had issues. They don't really, there's a lot of peer pressure from the family where they are told to be a version of themselves which is better, more intelligent, smarter, quieter, and so on and so forth. So it's just not about the physicality of things. It's the emotional and the intellectual that people keep on snubbing, including their parents, I feel.
And I think I grew up in a family that was very huge on academia.
Yeah.
Okay, my father's a chartered accountant, my mother was head girl of her university, my sister's, she's done her master's in biomedical science. We're all very academic. So I felt the peer pressure amongst my family to do well academically. But then there are families like that in Pakistan that feel pressured to get a rishta from a certain family because because everybody else has, or your other sisters have gotten married into good families, right? And therefore you need to fit that stereotype.
And then you have to drive a certain car.
Exactly, right? Yeah. But then that's what we need to do to make sure that what's happening with the younger generation and the way parents are dealing with children is the fact that they need to understand what is important and where the rankings really lie with regards to what is important in life and what is not. And for that to happen, parents need to understand that children do not need to fit these particular stereotypes. Yeah. And Shiraz and I were talking yesterday, and we laughed about the fact that if you don't fit into a stereotype, honestly, join the media industry because we're all mad here. Everyone who doesn't conform into a particular a stereotype, they all join the entertainment industry because we're funny.
or rebellious,
We'll provide entertainment either way. So
or rebellious.
Or rebellious.
Yeah.
But then again, rebellion is perhaps not a very good answer for some. For some may thrive from rebellion, but not everybody.
But don't you think that you need rebellion in order to get out of stereotypes? I mean, that is the push that you actually need, that power that you
need to be a
need.
nonconformist personality to break away from stereotypes.
So help me out. You can't be just comfortable under your skin and...
You have to be comfortable in your skin every day. So it's an ever-evolving kind of a statue that you need to kind of put on yourself. It's an every single day job. You need to talk to yourself and you need to make sure that you're okay with yourself. I mean, obviously there's so many external factors telling us that we're not good enough. You just need to identify with yourself and
you need to have the self-confidence.
Self-discovery, talk to yourself, analyze yourself. It's important.
How embracing are we of different people? I mean, not everybody is the same.
Not everyone.
But we kind of not embrace those who are different.
But I would say that in the media industry and where we work, what shines across is your individuality, and that is what is celebrated.
Zuhair, but at the same end of the trajectory, media industry can be very hostile.
No, I mean, yes, it can, but not because you're not conforming into into a stereotype.
I think that nowadays the stereotype is the trending stereotype is unique.
Yeah, it's to be different.
So the idea is that when people coming around and they say they have, different features, you've seen Tyra Banks, with the girl with the skin condition. She's the supermodel right now just because she's unique.
Yeah.
That's excellent. I mean, that's awesome. What we probably need to do right now is to make sure that our uniqueness are, intact. It's intact, and that we don't let anybody try to conform us to anything that they want us to conform to.
In your uniqueness, can you sing a song for us?
Do you want your channel to close down?
I drive from you singing, and he sang that line from Game of Thrones.
Vocals.
Yeah.
No. I'll give you the backup vocals. You start.
Shiraz, I can't sing.
Go for it.
Go.
Tell me something, boy. What? No? I forgot the words. Are you tired of trying to fill that void? Or do you need more? Yes, we do. Is there something that you're searching for? I'm falling. People probably don't like my voice.
People have changed the channel back.
You love Games of
I
Thrones.
love Game of Thrones.
What's your favorite line?
A couple of them.
Give
Where are my dragons? How about that? Good?
What's the other one?
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Any?
I'm one of the 3 people in the world who don't watch Game of Thrones.
Shame.
You don't?
No.
Shame. Shame.
All the memes are about
I
shame.
understand none of them.
You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Shame.
Having pondered over the various facets of our society today, these musketeers have helped to dissect multiple taboos and stereotypes, including that of cross-dressing and body shaming. It's been a delight having them. Thank you for watching the show. See you guys next week.